talk about the Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and
Freddie Gray,
Fernando Castillo. The whole list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Could you educate? Right? Could you educate everybody out there
We used to post my
on?
videos on her page.
Oh, I love her. I feel like she's my cousin. My heart just breaks.
Could you educate everybody on Dred Scott? Why a lot of these things are, a lot of these cops and people who cause these murders are acquitted? I think because of the Dred Scott.
Oh, without question, because the Dred Scott case was never overturned. They argued that the 14th Amendment that gives everyone equal protection under the law outlawed Dred Scott in principle, but it never did it in fact. So the Dred Scott case, 1857, I believe it was, Dred Scott was an enslaved African who was transported into a free state, if memory serves me correctly. And since he was in a free state, he sued for the right to be free. And Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger Taney ruled that the black man has no rights that a white man are bound to respect, that you are not a U.S. citizen, nor could you ever be considered so. And I'm going to be honest with you. From the U.S. constitutional framework, Roger Taney's decision, although controversial and an absolute disgrace and disrespect to black folks, from a U.S. constitutional standpoint, from what those devils wrote in the Constitution, he was correct. Because what do we know about constitutional law? First of all, the Supreme Court only reviews what? Constitutional law cases. Y'all know that.
Yeah.
If you ever try to go to the Supreme Court with a case that doesn't deal with constitutional law, they kick it back to the state.
Yeah, it's not up here.
According to constitutional law, any law ever created in America, any law that contradicts the intent of the founding fathers when they wrote the Constitution is automatically illegal. So the question you got to ask yourself, when Jefferson and Adams and Washington and Franklin and Madison sat down and wrote that Constitution, did they ever intend for black people to be equal? I think everybody in this room knows that answer. And because of that, that's why the Dred Scott case has never been overturned. You are not, nor could you ever be. As Malcolm X said, if you're an American citizen, what the hell you need a civil rights bill for? That's already guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. What you need a Voting Rights Act for? You got the right to vote with the 15th Amendment in the 1860s. Why are they coming up with special acts for Negroes? Because you're not an American.
And why they say African American?
That don't even exist. What the hell is that? First of all, how you going to be half oppressor, half oppressed? Half victim, half victimizer. Half rape, half racist. God and the devil at the same time.
So how do we win?
Jesse Jackson was the first to use the word African American in 1988 at an Urban League conference to make us feel.
Oh, you seen that? Say that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jesse rolled it out.
Wow.
To make because you know we think we can name ourselves out of this.
Yeah.
We were black, Negro, Anglo-American, Afro-Anglo. We think we can. It ain't got nothing to do with what you call yourself. It's what you do for yourself that's going to change your reality.
I never liked the name African American because if blonde hair, blue eye, someone from South Africa comes over here, they get the same rights. Supposedly, as someone that's an African American, like they can get the black scholarships, all the other stuff by the laws because they are African American technically.
Well, because you mentioned Dr. John Henry Clark, I'll give you a quote from him on that. And Dr. John Henry Clark said, anybody in Africa who's not a black African is an invader or a descendant of an invader. So for me, I do not consider, unless you black African, you ain't African. But I do understand what you're saying. From a legal standpoint, they can try to use the fact that they were born in Africa, because if I'm a white boy with a name that isn't obviously white, I'm not lying when I say African American.
Yeah.
Well, they do that right now with the Indians. You got a bunch of Caucasians claiming that they was Indian because they...
Well, a lot of them were, because the Indians are actually the biracial child of the original Africans who lived here and the white folks who came over.
Exactly.
But let's look at the Arabs. For purposes of the United States Census, the Arab is a white man. Oh yes!
Oh, they put them in the
for the census.
Listen, and here's the hypocrisy. If y'all so much against Al Qaeda and the Arabs and the Iraqis, why would you classify the Arabs as white? Why not just create another racial category? That's because the Arab is the white man's cousin.